There doing another action figure review, and today we are looking at something that's been a property that's been around for a long time. This is the Power Rangers or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Reignition line. Now this is a brand new figure for 2025. This is being done by Playmates, so I think this is the first time they've had the Power Ranger property. Before that it used to be Bandai used to it, and it was Hasbro were releasing the Lightning Collection stuff, but this I believe is the first time that Playmates has dipped into the Power Ranger market. Now I could be wrong, there might have been some crossover stuff that I'm not remembering, because I know there's been a few crossovers with Turtles, but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that was Hasbro released those as opposed to Playmates releasing them as a crossover. But there has been along the lines of crossovers, many wounds and various iterations. And this is pretty much the first iteration of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or Power Rangers, or Super Sentai, if you want to go that far back. Because the original Mighty Morphin show is around 30 years old, but the actual Super Sentai show predates that. I think the Super Sentai stuff started in the late, I want to say late 70s, at least mid 80s, because a lot of the stock footage they used for this series was actually from the original Japanese series, which they imported, and then they just not retcon, but basically edited, spliced it together to have the new team, the American team, which was comprised of Jason, Billy, Zach, Kimberly, and Trini, and then later they would introduce Tommy. So, and that legacy has been going on for a long time. So this is the figure I'm going to have a look at. It's pretty much the only one out of the wave I'm anyway interested in, and I saw him on the shelf and I said I have to pick him up and have a quick video review of him, and that is Goldar. He's one of my favorite villains from the original series. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my Lightning Collection version to hand, but I do have another one to do a comparison with. So this is Evil Space Alien Goldar. He does have a Try-Me feature when he's in packaging. He does have wing flap, and you have a Try-Me. He basically has a gimmick where he squeezes his leg, and it basically does a little wing flapping. So on the back of the box you have a write-up for both Goldar and just the Mighty Morphin in general, so we'll have a quick look at that. There is a QR code down here in the corner. I'll just bring that up close so you can see it if you want to try and scan it and see what it brings up. So, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are 5 ordinary teens chosen to receive amazing abilities. They summon the spirits of their mighty dinosaurs and morph into incredible Power Rangers. When evil aliens loom large, the dinosaurs combine to form an even more colossal battle machine, the Megazord. And then you have an image of the original team, minus Tommy, on the packaging. And then you have an actual image of the other figures, and you actually have Tommy in that image. If I just move Goldar's, or him out of the way, Goldar's. So the guys on top are the Automorphing Rangers. This idea isn't anything new. They had Automorphing Rangers back in the 90s. And I'm talking 1990s, not anything before that, or 1900s. 1990s when these came out. Bandai, they had Automorphing Rangers. I have seen reviews of these ones. They basically redid the bodies to have them a bit more, like, a bit more detailed. The original bodies were kind of a bit plain and androgynous, so they used the same body for the female Rangers as they did with the male Rangers, and they had no, it was because to incorporate the action feature. They still did that with these ones, but it's not as, well, it's still kind of noticeable, but it's not as bad as it was in the original ones. But then you have a write-up for Goldar up here. So I'm not sure if you can see that there. There is a write-up for Goldar, and that reads, Goldar is a humanoid ape who has an unwavering allegiance to Rita Repulsa. Unlike many other henchmen, Goldar is one of the few is capable of holding his own against the entire Power Rangers team. With his magic sword and Rita's growth magic, he can become a real problem for heroes. So then it has a small little bio, a name, Goldar, skill set, sword combat, personality, loyal henchman, weapon, sword, sidekick is a putty patroller. And again, as you say, you can see the other figures in the wave. There is a Rita figure, which has like a staff throw action. She kind of waves her arms around while she's trying to throw when she does her kind of staff throw, or just waves the staff around. And then there is actually a putty patroller. He was the only one out of the entire wave I did not see. I saw everyone else here except putty patroller, who probably is there somewhere. He might be short packed, maybe, I don't know. But we will pause the video here and we'll have a quick look at the Goldar figure. Let's have a look at the Goldar figure in all its glory, and starting off, we'll do tape measuring. So the wings are non-removable from this figure, like some of the previous versions. So with the wings, he stands around 5¼ inches. I think that's about the same to his head. He's like maybe roughly just under 5½. So it is a 5.5 figure line, if you want to call it that. He is articulated, but before we'll go in and get on about his accessories and articulation and all that, we'll just bring in a small comparison. Now this is, I can't remember the line this came out in. It was one of the early 2000s. It is a 4-inch line, so I think it was around the time of, what was the name of it? Was it they did a Dino Fury? Was it Dino Fury? I can't remember the specific line this guy came out on. There's been so many iterations of Power Rangers, and they've brought back some of the what are now legacy characters or classic characters. They've brought back some of them back from the original show. This is one that they kind of redid, which is Goldar. But as you can see, this one has a removable wings, and he should have a sword, but I do not know where the sword is at the moment. This guy was very limited in articulation, even though I quite liked him, and he scales up quite nicely with kind of 3¼ 4-inch figures. This guy's not in the same scale, but this guy was actually pretty good. You can see the reimagine or reignition line has his gimmick, which is basically you squeeze his thighs basically together, or his legs, and it does a wing flap. Now I do wish these wings were kind of somewhat more posable, that you could fold them down out of the way. I do like the way they did his armor. He's basically just cast in this kind of goldy, bronzy sort of colored plastic, and now I don't think it would be the same as the gold plastic syndrome stuff. It looks different, but there is very minimal paint apps on this guy. For the most part, it's his wings, obviously the face, because you can't have Goldar without that iconic blue, as they call him, a gorilla or ape face. He has his hair, which is done. The tail on the back is painted. He has very small minimal red accents to his knee pads, and then he has a small bit of what I believe is grey under here, which on the other one, if I just bring it back in, is red. So it depends on, there was a couple of different variations on the actual Goldar suit that was used. I think the original suit was reused, and it was in a bad state by the time the 90s movie came around, so they had to redesign the whole suit, or repair the whole suit, and it got some slight upgrades. So he does come with a Goldar sword. Now again, it's just done in the entire same gold colored plastic. There's no metal on. I believe on the other versions of it, I have this blade is actually silvered, so it has a metal blade. This is just all the same gold colored plastic, and has the little heart painted in the red paint apps. At least that's what it looks like. It's a gem of some kind, but it looks like a heart stone gem, and he fits it in his right hand pretty easily. You can get it to fit into his left, but you just have to outstretch the knuckles a bit, so you can have him hold it in either hand. He does come with a power effect or lightning effect for his sword, which just slots over the sword as so. I don't believe, can you hold it? You can put it on his hand if you want to put it on his hand, but I think it's designed for the sword and just sits over it. And it gives a kind of power up look to it. He is somewhat articulated. He's a little bit more articulated than the previous one I showcased there. But he's, again, still limited. He's not as articulated as the Lightning Collection. So we'll start off with his legs, because his legs are pretty much a block. There is no articulation except for the action feature. So his knees, his ankles, and this is one of the things that kind of annoys me about him, because he's, depending on which way you have him posed, he can be kind of top heavy. So if you have the, and of course he won't do it now, you can see he kind of leans forward a bit on his ankles. If he was a bit more back like that in the natural position, he wouldn't, he feels like he's going to flop forward every time I stand him up. But he doesn't have any peg holes either on the bottom of the feet, but he has that like hip articulation for the action gimmick. Nothing in the waist, nothing in the chest. He does have a sort of ball jointed head. You get some good range of movement as long as you can get his hair out of the way of his wings, again, which would be nice if you could have folded them down. It would give his head a bit more movement. So you have this piece that flaps back on the back of his head over his wings. We just get back into its natural or default positioning. There we go. See, it flops over here and it stops his head from moving that with any ease. So if that wasn't there, or if his head, if these wings were not up the whole time, if you could bend them down, actually, can you bend them down? His head pops off in a ball joint. I don't think you can bend them down without breaking them. I don't want to risk it, but you can see it is on a ball joint. It just pops back into place, but it does give some range movement. Again, if those wings weren't in the way. His shoulder pads are on a hinge, so you can give him some range of movement on the shoulders, so you can actually do a T-pose, which isn't too bad. He does have a rotation in the arm. Now, he can't go all the way around, obviously, because the wings get in the way and the shoulder pads do tend to get in the way, but he does have elbow joints. Now, he doesn't have any bicep swivel, so it would have been nice if they either had a elbow swivel or a bicep swivel. He does have a swivel, but it's not in the best place. It's just the gauntlet swivels. So if that swivel had been up here on this side, it would have made much more sense. And then he has wrist swivel, no hinge or anything on the wrist, but he does have a wrist swivel. So again, as I said, he's a bit more articulated than that smaller 4-inch scale one. The arms can barely move forward on this one, because these are part of the body sculpt. So you cannot even move the hands on this. You can move the legs side to side. There's no knee. There's that weird swivel on the foot, but that one is very, very limited. So for scaling, let's bring in Sharella here. He doesn't look quite right with those sort of figures, but he should scale with other 5.5-inch scale lines. But because of the proportions, he doesn't really scale that well. In fact, if I remember correctly, Goldar was quite a tall character, so he might scale a little better with something more in the full 4-inch scale. You could get away with him being, because he was such a big character and took up a lot of screen presence, you could kind of get away with him being a 4 or 5-inch scale line character, which wouldn't be too bad. But overall, he's a really nice sculpt. Again, customizers out there could probably do some amazing work customizing at least the body armor on him and making it look a little bit more screen accurate. Maybe do a bit of work, a couple of washes on the face sculpt could really pop that face again. It's just a shame that the legs, again, people are kind of going, this property is 30 years old, which means a lot of the people who grew up with this property are now maybe 30s and 40s. And they're like going, who is this line aimed at? Because it's a sort of kid-friendly gimmick line. And I get it that, you know, they're trying to incorporate new, fresh audiences into the Power Rangers, but like there is still a current Power Rangers show with new Rangers and all that. These ones have been around for quite a while, but there is reruns of the original Mighty Morphin on a lot of streaming platforms. I think Netflix has the entire, nearly everything from Super Sentai and Power Rangers thereabouts. So it could be just because that is around and it is kind of a nostalgia factor. They're bringing these back, but if they had done this guy in a fashion similar to Origins, Motu Origins, or in the GI Joe Classifieds, just keeping the scale, or even if they did it in like with Spin Master style, where you have, it still has limited articulation, but it's in a 4-inch scale, but it's quite detailed and quite posable. I think that would have worked way better instead of having the kind of silly gimmick sort of thing. Like all the Rangers have the head flip gimmick. Again, that's something that they had going in the back line or back in the day, but they also had like a standard line of Power Rangers figures that were just like basic figures. Now, I think they might be doing that with this particular whole reignition thing, but giving the kind of bad guys a similar power action gimmicks to the Power Rangers, I think they could have just left off and give them more articulation. The one thing that is cool is that we got a Rita. Rita in the, I do not believe there was an original Rita Repulsa figure. There was a Rita for this line, and there is a Rita in the Classified, what's it called again, Lightning Collection, but there's never really been Rita in much of the lines that were in scale with the kind of the standard original Power Rangers line, as far as I'm aware. So it is kind of nice to see that. And again, the putties are army builders, so having putties that, I'm assuming the putty figure has an action gimmick as well, kind of limit your plausibility for action gimmicks on the putties. So it is a little bit of disappointment that way. But all in all, it is a nice figure, and it is a cheap price point. It is, if I remember correctly, I think I paid 15 euros. I'm not sure what that equates to now at the moment with the current currency conversions seem to be all over the place these days at the moment. So it could be around $10, $12 in the States. So prices vary between countries. So these guys are about 15 bucks a pop over here in Ireland. So I picked this guy up in Smith's. They seem to be bringing in the line there. There is a Megazord for this line. I don't know if the Megazord will be available over here. It might be something that has to be ordered. I think it might be Amazon exclusive. I could be wrong. For some reason that's popping into my head that it's an store exclusive for now. It might become a regular retail release at some point. But all in all, Goldar here is quite nice. So we'll just give a quick look-see again at him. A 360. So he's a nice figure. He has some nice accents and nice sculpting. Just a shame on the execution. If they had gone just a kind of standard figure route and just kept this being his like gimmick kind of thing, his like, you know, his an action blast gimmick, as in like a blast effect gimmick, as opposed to like a launching missile type thing, that would have been probably a better way of going it. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video review, and I hope it's a quick video review of the Power Rangers Mighty Morphin Reignition Goldar figure. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and please hit the if there is a notification bell, you can hit that and see if you can be notified of when I upload new videos and whatnot. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day. Cheers. Thanks, guys.